Hi, this is Patty, and I'm back. This is the second video. Welcome back to my channel, my lifelong weight loss journey. And I would like you to subscribe if hopefully come along. As I said previously, I'm 66 years old, and I have been on a lifelong weight loss journey. And until January of 2025, when I found the GLP-1s and started, it was the first time that I ever got something that actually worked. I remember, and it's still working. I'm still on the journey. This week it was a stay, no weight loss, but I did get some muscle gain according to my scale that I have. But I did want to talk about the 70s today. If many of you, if many of you are my age, older, in the 70s, we did not have the internet. So, but I remember looking at magazines that my mom or my sisters had, like True Romance or whatever it was. And in the back, there was always these ads. And as a chubby teenager in like 1973, 74, always looking for something, to help me lose weight, and nothing was ever working. Doing all the exercising in my room and walking and doing all the chores around the farm. You're doing manual labor all the time. And so I remember in the summer of like 1973, I was babysitting, but I also, I was saving my money from my allowance and babysitting money. And in the back of the magazine, there was an ad. There was usually lots of ads. If you guys, if you remember, even like the comic books used to have the ads. But anyway, it was like, lose 10 pounds in 7 days. Mail $2. And a self-addressed stamped envelope too, and then it gave an address. So of course I did this, got there. It took a while, you mail it, then pretty soon it came back in a few weeks, and it was like one page, and it had on there the diet you were supposed to follow. My goodness, it was like if it was 500 calories, it would have been good. That was like your breakfast is a cup of tea or coffee, plain black, which I was a teenager. I didn't drink coffee then, or tea, hot tea anyway. And it was like, and a piece of dry toast. This was your breakfast, and then it was like for lunch you had some lettuce, and I cannot remember, but it was very, you did not have much of anything. Like I said, if it came up to 500 calories a day, you were going to be lucky. So that's the things. And of course, always trying. I remember have sent off for more than one, and I don't know if any of you ever did that, but I certainly did. Then when I was in like 1975, at like 15, I joined Weight Watchers, went with my aunt and my sister. And I mean, they were losing, and that diet. The Weight Watchers back then, oh my goodness. I mean, you were supposed to be eating like tuna fish. I got sick of it, it was barely, it was way under 1,000 calories a day. You lived on lettuce and tuna fish or something, and you had to mandatorily eat liver once a week. Well, I'm sorry, I would not eat liver. And you had to have skim milk. Growing up on a farm where we drank fresh milk from our own cows, that was very hard. I mean, I did it, but man, was it hard, because it looked blue. I mean, nowadays I've had skim and it don't look, but back then when you poured it in a glass, it looked like bluish. Like there was just nothing to it. But, stuck to it did my exercises. I was walking the country roads. I was walking 2-3 miles a day. Every night I was doing push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, windmills, arm rows, all the things that we learned in gym class, all these exercises back then that we were supposed to do, that was supposed to help us lose weight. And they were losing, but no. I went with them for 5-6 months, and I lost maybe 6 pounds, and they would keep giving you all these things to try and stuff, but, and back then, even when they started coming out with like the Weight Watcher TV dinner things or something, they were so disgusting. It was like cardboard, and they were wanting to shove cottage cheese. I hate cottage cheese. And it was like you'd get something and they were substituting that in anything. But if you got the little pizzas back then or something, the Weight Watchers pizza, it was like a little piece of cardboard. It was not fun. But nothing worked. No matter eating 3 regular meals of like 1,200 calories a day, it never worked. I would gain instead of losing inches or anything, until, like I said, when I started on the GLP-1 and everything went into order. I mean, for years, it didn't matter, like with my morning blood sugars, fasting blood sugar in the morning. No matter how long I fasted, I could never get a morning one that was under 120, no matter what. I could have fasted for 12 hours and I would still, and this is a thing in our family, and then they called it the sundowning syndrome or something but, now we realize that was insulin resistance and something traumatic. And yes, I did have, at 5 years old, our family home, within a couple weeks after my 5th birthday, our home caught on fire and we lost our home. My whole life was upchanged. We moved from Minnesota to, living in the country, 1/4 mile from my grandparents who I could go see every day. My aunts and uncles were just down the road a little ways, and my friends. And we moved, from Minnesota to Oregon. And so there was big changes that went on, and that's when the weight, before that I was just a little bit, not anything ordinary. I wasn't no super obese child. But after that, the weight started going on and other things, and it just, and that could have been the triggering event that caused my insulin resistance to start up, because from then on I had problems, but didn't know with the sugar, and like the diabetes does run in my family. My grandmother died from it, my dad's mother, before that. She found out a few months prior to my being born that she had had diabetes, and they said that's probably why. I mean, she had birthed 11 children, well, plus a couple that were stillborn, but her last baby even was like a 13-pound baby. So she probably had, and they said when they discovered in 1960 or late 1959 that she had diabetes, she'd had it for quite a while, and then it was really bad, and she had like these big open sores on the bottoms of her feet, and she was supposed to be like in bed rest, and they were soaking her in like Lysol water. A nurse would come out like so many times a week, and they were soaking her feet in this Lysol water, and then she had these like bandages, and she, was to lay down in the bed pretty much all the time. So she would do that for a few days. And then, of course, they'd finally start healing and over encrusting. And this was a woman who had done everything her whole, a country woman who raised her children, who did all the cooking and cleaning and all that. So she would get back up on them feet, not, after a few days. And of course they would break open again, and she'd end up having a couple toes removed prior to me being born even. So I only knew my grandma like that, and she had to take insulin shots every day. And then eventually when I was 11 years old, we did move back by them after 2.5 years of being gone, which was great to be near them again. But then she passed away from all the complications of the diabetes. It wrecked all her organs, and when I was 11 years old, she passed away from that. And so that's something that was built in, you don't want to have that. You don't want to get diabetes. You don't want that. And so you're struggling, working your whole life trying to not get it, It was a struggle, and, trying all the things. How many thousands and thousands of dollars have I spent over my lifetime on books and potions and lotions and pills and everything. Even having gastric bypass, and it would only let you get to a certain point. And it was so different getting on a GLP-1. It was like there was no, your head was clear, my head was clear, there wasn't, I never had, like some people were always worrying what their next meal was going to be. That wasn't it. But certain things like chips and chocolate, if they were in the house, they were like calling me all the time. You should come have me. Yeah. Let's have some chips. They're good. They're really good. You'll just have a few, or a handful, or if it's a little bag, we'll just have that little bag. And then pretty soon you grab a second one. And same thing with the little individual serving size little bits of chocolate or something, well, 3 is a serving, so you take all 3 and you keep going back and forth by it. They can be in the house now and they don't even bother me. To me now, chips don't even taste good anymore. They taste like too salty and things, and so to start seeing the slow weight loss, but that was good. But my numbers now, they're, my morning sugars, if I check it, it's 100. And I don't get those feelings and things that I've had before. My A1C is 5.2. All my other numbers are good. I no longer have a fatty liver. That was something that they had diagnosed years ago, that I had a fatty liver from, different things. And a year ago, my doctor did an ultrasound, and she's like, this was a different doctor that I had went to here in Yuma. And when she got back, she's like, you don't have fatty liver. This is what the semaglutide, the GLP-1 did for me. And then once in November, when I switched to the compound tirzepatide, then the fat started falling off. The inches started going. The weight lost 1 to 1.25 pounds a week, which is perfect. But the sizes started changing. In just a matter of weeks, things like the stomach thing is gone. And all of a sudden, you're in a size 18. The next time you try to put something on a few weeks later, that's falling off. You need the next size. And it's just amazing that, at this point, I'm in a size 12, which is something I never, in my teenage years or whatever, I'm at a weight now that I was when I was 15 or 16 and trying to lose weight. I still need to lose a few more, but I am on the cusp of not being in the overweight category. I'm no longer in the obese. It took me out of that, and I'm in the overweight, but I am so close to getting to the other category of just being normal, which is so weird to think, because I never thought, after all these years, it's like, I'll try this, but I'm sure it won't work for me. and it has. But so many other things I tried along the way, and I'm sure others have too. And just wanted to share, and I will share some of the other things, but I just wanted to talk about the early 70s as a teenager, already starting to try this, because all the other girls were skinny. In our school, I could count, there was less than 10 people that were overweight. And that's from grade 7 through 12. That would have been in the overweight category. Of course, I was one, and then having the name Patty, boy, it rhymed. Fatty Patty 2x4, you know. And I never wanted to look, I didn't take pictures, I didn't want to look at myself and see those, and I'm sure others have. And now if I see my reflection in the mirror, I have to look twice because, whoa, you don't look like... sent pictures to friends of mine that we have been friends since we were like 13, 14 years old, and she's like, you look like a whole different person. And I do, you know. It took a while for my face to finally start losing some. I mean, I have my dad's face shape, but it doesn't look like a dang pumpkin on my shoulders anymore. So that's the thing. But I hope that you will join me, and if you have ideas of what you want me to share with, I will discuss the 80s, things I tried throughout the last of the 70s and then the early 80s, what diet things I went on, discuss them and with you. And if you have any questions or anything for me, put them in the comments. And I hope that you will subscribe and join me, and I will see you later. Bye.